My name is Patrick Lynch. I'm the International Manager here with IT Sligo. You're very welcome to this webinar. The format for this evening will be I'll chat for about 20-25 minutes, and then I'm going to ask Eliza Lee, who's a Canadian student, a graduate of Algonquin College, who's actually studying here for her second year. She had a diploma, a business diploma, and is now completing her final year of her level 8 honours degree here with ourselves. So Eliza is also our Education Ireland student ambassador. So once I vacate this hot seat in about 20 minutes time, you feel free to use the chat box to ask as many questions as you can possibly think of, practical do's and don'ts or whatever, of Eliza, and she'll do her best to answer them as well. Okay. All right, guys. Just a couple of reasons why you might decide, or you might think IT Sligo is the right choice for you. If you're a Canadian citizen, obviously you don't need a student study visa to come to Ireland. You can complete an honours bachelor degree and just with one more year of additional study if you're an advanced diploma student. Typically, there are exceptions to that, one being civil engineering technology students, and I know that we have a few of those on the webinar this evening. Or indeed, if you're a diploma student, you can complete an honours bachelor degree with 2 years of additional study. We reduced tuition here at IT Sligo from €10,500 to €8,500 automatically for Ontario graduates, and we fully reduced that to €8,000, which is around 12,000 Canadian dollars, if you are in a receipt of an offer and you pay your refundable deposit of €1,000 within 90 days of the date of your offer, so you can secure your seat on the relevant program. As you're undoubtedly aware, if you are eligible for OSAP, you apply as you ordinarily would through the Thunder Bay office. Applications open online on the 1st of May in advance of September entry every year, and you can use OSAP to study overseas. You can receive funding for up to 10,000 Canadian. We're also registered with the Canadian Revenue Agency, so any students who are privately funded in any way, you can write off the cost of tuition or indeed any study expenses against taxation. And the international office here at IT Sligo will assist with your OSEP documentation, and they'll also assist with your Canadian revenue tax return forms. If you graduate in Ireland with an honours bachelor degree, you're automatically eligible to stay back in Ireland for a 12-month post-study work permit. During study time, you're also allowed to take a part-time job for up to 20 hours a week, and outside of study time up to 40 hours a week. Typically, a part-time job wages are typically around 12 Canadian dollars per hour, and that's enshrined in Irish law, which is around €9 per hour. Okay, and just some FAQs. And what about the structure of the school year here? There's actually been a slight change this year. We remain semesterized, so we have 2 semesters. First semester begins around the second week in September and runs all the way through till the second week in December. And examinations are held, started this year for the first time, are actually held pre-Christmas. So you can enjoy your Christmas holidays. Second semester recommences around the third week in January and will go all the way through to around the second week in May, with examinations in May. So bookended, your study period in one academic year is give or take around 9 calendar months. And there are breaks, of course, for October around Halloween, Christmas, and again at Easter time. Typically, each semester is around 13 weeks. And there may be a reading week within each semester. I've gone through OSAP earlier on. I've gone through the Canadian Revenue Agency. Some students often ask this question: can you defer your entry? So in other words, if you're in receipt of a conditional or an unconditional offer, you can decide to accept the same, but you can defer entry. For argument's sake, instead of September 2020, you may defer for 12 months until September 2021. Some students decide to, I suppose, avail of work back home in Canada and I suppose replenish their funds so they can truly avail and benefit of that study abroad experience. Okay, and all of the pathways that we will be speaking about are open to international students at any of the constituent Ontario colleges. We don't distinguish based on nationality. English language requirements, well, if you study through the medium of English and you have your diploma, obviously it's acquired through the medium of English, and that's absolutely fine for us. We include airport collection within our tuition costs, so you just need to make sure that you notify the international office here the time and date of your arrival, flight number, flight time of arrival, and the terminal, and we'll ensure that you are collected if there's a group coming in, or alternatively we will send you your express bus ticket from Dublin Airport directly to Sligo. Medical insurance is no longer included within tuition, so you will have to purchase your own private medical insurance. That is required for registration with immigration here. We're no longer providing that because of a recent court ruling here in Ireland, which has or will increase substantially the premiums associated with medical insurance, which is originated and underwritten here in Ireland. Okay. Can your partner travel to and work in Ireland while you study? The answer to that is yes. There is a swap program, which is a reciprocal program between Ireland and Canada. The best website to research with regard to that is swap.ca. Okay, so that's the Canadian swap program, where citizens of Ireland can actually live and work in Canada for up to 2 years, and citizens from Canada can actually live and work in Ireland for up to 2 years. So that's the DFA swap program. Okay, accommodation is generally, unlike, I suppose, Canada, most of the student accommodation, if not all the student accommodation in Ireland, is privately owned. It is located off campus, but on the periphery of the campus. So we're fortunate here in Sligo. We have about 2,500 bed spaces, and literally within 5 or 10 minutes walk of the campus here. Most of the student apartments are ensuite apartments. So generally you would have 2 or 3 bedroom apartments with your own single ensuite rooms. In other words, you have your own bathroom, you'd have a shared kitchen and living space. Most of the housing would cost around €90 per week, which is around 140 Canadian dollars. Typically that would include a light and heating and utilities allowance. I would also include Wi-Fi. Okay. Are there any one-off costs? The only one-off costs associated with coming to Ireland would be the cost of your Irish Residence Permit card. So that's called your IRP card. So while I mentioned earlier on that Canadian citizens do not require a student study visa to come to Ireland, once you are a non-European citizen, whether your student study visa required or not, you are obligated to register with immigration for your IRP card locally within 90 days of arrival. So we assist with that. We bring the IRP officer in as part of our orientation program, and the cost of that card is €300, and that's the same for all non-European students, and that is roughly around 450 Canadian dollars. Okay. So I mentioned about the airport collection. So just a reminder again, you need to remind or notify the international office of your flight arrival details. So that's your flight number, your time and date of arrival, and the terminal which you're arriving into. And if it's a group, we will be sending down a private coach to collect that group. And if it's people coming in dribs and drabs, we will purchase your expressway ticket for the bus EIREANN, and that'll bring you directly from Terminal 2 in Dublin Airport directly to Sligo bus station, which is in the centre of Sligo town. The journey time is around 3.5 hours. Okay. So I suppose why just a fun, dynamic and affordable place. Sligo is substantially cheaper, I suppose, when compared to some of the larger cities such as Galway and Dublin. So you'll see just on the infographic in front of you there, the average cost of accommodation on a monthly basis in Sligo is around €320 per month. That's around 80 to 90 euros per week. The equivalent cost in Dublin and Galway is €420 or almost €600 in Dublin. So you can see that Sligo, comparatively speaking, relative to some of the larger urban city locations, is significantly cheaper compared to say Galway or Dublin. Similar savings available in terms of food and utilities, monthly travel costs. Most students actually walk in and out from college to accommodation, and there are various options available to you, whether they're within the centre of town or indeed on the periphery of campus. I know there is a slide later on the presentation which will list the various accommodation options that are open to you. So again, a fun infographic of, I suppose, Sligo and its environments. So you'll see almost in the center of the screen there on the infographic, you'll see the fish, which is, I suppose, a symbol of salmon, which is the fish of knowledge in Irish folklore. So that's right in that kind of sculptures in the center of the campus. So you'll see that it's located almost about 5 to 10 minutes walk from the center of Sligo town. And then literally to the west and the north, we're framed by Benboba Mountain to the north, Knocknarea to the southwest, and then all along the western seaboard, you have Strandhill Beach, Ross's Point Beach, Mullockmore, and indeed my favourite beach, which isn't shown on the infographic there, which would be Streeja. So if you would like the outdoor life, Sligo, with a city population of about 25,000 people and a county population of about 60,000 people, this is the place for you. Okay. So I'm just going to move. It's an aerial shot of the campus there. So to the north of the campus, we're actually building a second campus that should be finished within the next 18 months. That will house the Yates Academy of Art, Design and Architecture, and for the 500 students will be studying there. The main campus itself is comprises about 70 acres, and we have further plans to actually extend the campus to the south of the library building, and right beside the science building as well for a new computing block. So right in front of you there, you see the main Yates Library and the Student Services building with the white kind of fascia. So within the Student Service building, we have nurses, GP clinics, counselling, student counsellors all located there. So that's kind of a neat place to go if you're in trouble. All the various support services that you would ordinarily expect back home are afforded to you there. Typical shot of student accommodation. So I think that's actually the Grove. So typically on each floor, there's probably about 5 or 6 apartments, generally 2 or 3 bedroom units. Again, each apartment would have its own single ensuite bathroom and a shared kitchen and living space. So we're quite fortunate here that we have about 2,500 bed spaces literally on the periphery of the campus. Again, all privately owned, but I'll put up a slide later on which will list all of the accommodation providers. Do take a screenshot of it when it does appear. I'll leave you time where you can actually do that, and it's up to you to contact the accommodation providers directly. The best time to do that would probably be around June, in advance of the Irish domestic students here receiving their college offers. Typically they don't issue until around August, or about the 3rd week in August, but most students would know once the state examinations finish, and they have a fair idea following the change of mind date which college they're actually going to attend and which program they're going to accept once the offers start to come out. So again, typically in June, you should start to contact the various accommodation providers, which will be listed shortly and later on in the presentation. So here we are, accommodation options, student residences. So Yates Village, the Village, Clarion, Grove, Sligo and Ordnua, they're bespoke student residences which are kind of located within 5 minutes walk from the campus itself. And probably the most popular student residence complex would be Milligan Court, certainly among international students, and that's located in the centre of Sligo town. So that would be about a good 10-minute walk from the actual campus itself, but it's a lot closer to all shops, bars, restaurants, nightlife, things like that. So on the weekend, most Irish students tend to go home. So if you're sharing with Irish students, and if you're sharing at any of the student residences which are closer to the campus, if you like your own company, generally most Irish students will go home. But if you want to share with other international students who will be around on the weekend, and if you want to stay closer or in the centre of the town, I would personally recommend staying at Milligan Court. Okay, so I'm going to leave this. There are some private housing options as well. So some people decide to go look on, say, rental sites such as daft.ie, myhome.ie, or indeed the IT Sligo Students' Union website, itssu.ie/rent. There are always a number of private housing options, sharing rooms for argument's sake in 2 and 3 or 4 bedroom houses, where you can actually rent rooms there. So oftentimes they can be maybe a little bit cheaper, but sometimes more difficult to locate. Okay. So can everybody just see the accommodation option slide in front of you? You might just please type in the text box there, if you can see that in front of you, and please do take the next 20-30 seconds or so to take a screenshot of the accommodation options, the list of those available to you. Again, a reminder, June is the best date to actually start to inquire online by contacting these people, their relevant student residence providers in front of you. So again, Milligan Court, if you're looking to share with other international students, and indeed if you wish to be located in the centre of Sligo town, that's probably a better option for you. Or if you're happy to share more, I suppose, with Irish students and be closer to the campus, it will probably be a little bit quieter on weekends. Then Yates Village, the Village Clarion, Grove Sligo or Ardnure are very good options as well, less than 5 minutes walk from the campus itself. Okay. So on the campus here, we have the Knocknaray Sports Arena. So that contains indoor gym, as well as kind of basketball courts, a main multi-purpose arena. It's also where conferring is held every year. So you can purchase membership based on a semester basis or year-long basis, or for as little as €2 per usage, you can actually attend. Okay. So again, that's located to the western side of the campus. The following student support services are available to everybody, all full-time students. So we have a math support centre. We also have an academic writing support centre and chaplaincy. So we're tolerant of all religious beliefs and faith here. We have a student counselling service here, and we also have nursing and GP clinics. So the nursing and GP clinics, they're free, but they are only open during term time. Okay, so outside of term time, if you need medical assistance, we always recommend that when you arrive here in Sligo, that you register with a local GP clinic. Okay, so if you register with a local GP clinic, it just means then that you can access, I suppose, the local doctor or a GP on call out of hours, should you fall ill at weekends, or should you fall ill, I suppose, during breaks in each of the terms. Okay. So we have actually a very vibrant IT Sligo International Society. So this year it's actually headed up by the whole committee comprises quite a lot of different nationalities. I know from Brazil, we have students from the Philippines and Nepal, and Canada actually on the organising committee. So I think 2 weeks ago they actually visited the fantastic Slieve Lee Cliffs, which are located north of us here, about an hour's drive away, in the fantastic County Donegal. So I know the students went up there and had a fantastic day, and that was held at the weekends. So they also have a number of other cultural activities and celebratory events organised throughout the year. So it's a very vibrant society. So we have a Clubs and Societies Day generally, and it's around the first or second week actually of the first semester, and students are encouraged to, whether you're into dance, photography, rock climbing, golf, horse riding, whatever it is, or indeed just the International Student Society, Debating Society, there's something for everybody here at IT Sligo. So we would warmly encourage all our international students to join a club or a society, especially during the first 2 weeks for the autumn term here. So unfortunately, some bad news to share. We don't have a Tim Hortons on campus, but we do have a Starbucks concession stand in the Student Union shop. So no Timmy's, just Starbucks. So apologies. So there are 3 faculties here in IT Sligo. There's a Faculty of Business and Social Sciences with all the programs listed down the left-hand side in the Departments of Business, Marketing, Tourism and Sport, and also our Social Sciences Department. Then we have the Faculty of Engineering and Design, which includes Mechanical and Electronic Engineering, the Department of Computing and Creative Practices, and our Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. And some are all the programs are listed there as well on the slide in front of you. And we also have our Faculty of Science, where we have 2 departments, our Department of Environmental Science and our Department of Life Sciences. So here at IT Sligo, we have a little under 4,000 full-time students. We actually have the same number of online students here. And as you may or may not be aware, in October of this year, we will be making an application along with 2 other institutes of technology and Letterkenny Institute of Technology, which is located north of us here in Donegal, and also Galway Mayo Institute of Technology, which is located in the city of Galway, which is about an hour and a half's drive from here. So all three institutions will be formally making an application to become a technological university, and that application will be lodged in October of this year. So exciting times, and if that's successful, the new technological university will have a total of 18,000 students and 8 different campuses servicing a geographical region of 55,000 square kilometers. So we're on the pathway to becoming a technological university, and as I mentioned earlier on, that application will be lodged in October of this year. So I'm just going to scroll through some of the various pathways that are open to some of the students that are listed here. I know that we have some business administration students and some office administration diploma students on the webinar this evening. So you can complete what we classify as a 3-year bachelor degree program, which is a general bachelor degree in Ireland with 1 more year of additional study, or should you wish, you can complete your honours bachelor degree via a 2nd year of full-time study. So business diploma students, so 2-year business diploma students with 1 more year of additional study, you can get your level 7 general degree, or with 2 years of additional study, which Eliza, who will be participating shortly on the webinar, decided to do herself, you can get your honours bachelor degree here at IT Sligo. So again, that's just as I mentioned earlier. So we have some business administration advanced diploma students on the webinar as well this evening. So with 1 year of additional study, whether you're taking a human resource management stream, or whether you're taking a marketing stream, or indeed a business or a finance stream, you can complete an honours bachelor degree level at IT Sligo with 1 more year of additional study. So if you are, for argument's sake, a business admin marketing student, you can get a Bachelor of Business Honours in Marketing at IT Sligo with 1 more year of additional study. If you're a business admin human resource management student, you can get a Bachelor of Business Honours in Human Resource Management with 1 more year of additional study at IT Sligo. I know that there are some general arts and science students, 2-year diploma students also on the webinar. So with 2 years of additional full-time study, you can get a BA Honours in Humanities in Sociology and Politics, okay? Or you can get a BA Honours in Humanities in English and Psychology. So 2-year general arts and science diploma students with 2 years of additional study at IT Sligo can graduate with an honours bachelor degree in BA Honours in Humanities in English and Psychology, or a BA Honours in Sociology and Politics. Again, I'm aware that we have 2-year ECE students on the webinar. So again, once more, with 2 more years of additional full-time study, you can graduate with a BA Honours in Early Childhood Care and Education at IT Sligo. Just one thing to note, in our 3rd year, which will be your 1st year of study here, in the 2nd semester of that particular program, it's a 14-week work placement, and you can decide to complete that work placement here in Sligo or back home in Canada. So that option is afforded to you. So again, 2-year ECE diploma students with 2 more year of additional study at IT Sligo, you can complete your 4-year BA Honours in Early Childhood Care and Education. We have some tourism and event management students again on the webinar. So if you have a 2-year diploma in hospitality, or a 2-year diploma in global tourism, you can complete the Bachelor of Business in Tourism with Event Management. That's the 3-year general degree with 1 more year of additional study. Or alternatively, you can complete the Bachelor of Business Honours in Tourism with Event Management if you're a 2-year diploma student in 2 more years of additional studies. That's a 4-year honours bachelor degree program, full credit exemption for the first 2 years. You transfer into year 3. You can exit after 1 year with a general degree, or you can, if you wish, continue on for the 4th year and complete your honours degree. So again, those pathways are open for hospitality students, but also for tourism and global travel diploma students. So I'm just going to move on quickly to, I know we have some environmental students, again, participating on the webinar. So if you are a diploma holder, so a 2-year diploma holder in environmental or ecosystem management or water quality technician, if you're a 2-year diploma student, you can complete your BSc in environmental protection. So that's a 3-year bachelor degree program with 1 more year of additional study. Or alternatively, if you're an environmental technologist, in other words, if you're a 3-year advanced diploma student in environmental technology, you can complete your 4-year BSc in environmental science with 1 more year of additional study at IT Sligo. Okay, probably one of our most popular pathways here at IT Sligo is the pathway for 3-year advanced diploma in biotechnology students, where they get full credit exemption and they transfer into the 4th and final year of our BSc in medical biotechnology. Okay, so you get full credit transfer if you're a biotechnology advanced diploma student or a science lab tech advanced diploma student. You can transfer directly into the 4th and final year of the BSc in medical biotechnology. Again, the minimum CGPA to apply for all of the pathways that we're speaking about this evening is a CGPA of 2.4, which is around a 60% average in the Ontario college system. But a good indicator of student success would be a student who carries a CGPA average of 3.0, and that student typically would fare well and graduate typically within the top 25% of the graduating classes here at IT Sligo. So if we have some pharmaceutical and food science technology students here, you also have the option to complete the BSc in pharmaceutical science with drug development. So those advanced diploma students can degree complete with a BSc in pharmaceutical science with drug development with 1 more year of additional study here in Sligo. So just forgive me now if I'm skipping through, and we have received kind of the profile of the students that are actually on the webinar. If I happen to skip past your slide, just type in the box chat there, and I can revisit and go back over the pathway. So I don't believe we have any Chem Lab technician diploma students, but if we do, you can degree complete with 1 more year of additional study at level 7 with a BSc in pharmaceutical science. And if you wish, you can then continue for a 2nd year and graduate with an honours degree in BSc in pharmaceutical science with drug development. If we have 2-year biotechnology technician diploma students on the webinar, first of all, you will transfer into year 3 of the BSc in biomedical science. So that's a 3-year BSc level 7 degree. And then if you wish, you can then transfer into the 4th and final year at the BSc in medical biotechnology, which I alluded to earlier on. Okay, I want to spend a little bit of time just with regard to civil engineering technology students. I know there are a few on the webinar this evening. So 3-year civil engineering technology advanced diploma students, if they wish to achieve an honours degree, BEng in civil engineering, you must do 2 more years of full-time study here at IT Sligo. Okay, so unlike most advanced diploma students that can degree complete at honours level with 1 more year of additional study, a civil engineering advanced diploma technology student must complete 2 more years of full-time study here at IT Sligo. And the reason for that is to do with the Engineers Ireland accreditation. So we have chartered accreditation with Engineers Ireland for that particular program. And they do require 2 more years of additional full-time study. Okay, again, the minimum CGPA to apply is 2.4. Okay, there are no bridging or alignment studies required. However, you would be required to pass a math entrance exam. Okay, and that is provided online. All right. Typically, students who return to Ontario with the BEng in civil engineering, when they go to register with the provincial board in Ontario, the engineers accreditation body in Ontario, typically they have to do 2 challenge exams, or typically around law and also ethics. Those students also have the option to complete a BSc in construction project management via 1 more year of additional study. Okay. Similarly, that degree completion option is also open to architectural technology advanced diploma students and indeed construction engineering students. Okay. So with 1 more year of full-time study, all of those programs can degree complete with a BSc on in construction project management, which carries Chartered Institute of Builders accreditation via 1 more year of additional full-time study, or indeed you can decide to complete that program online, and the duration is 2 years because it's half the workload of the full-time program. So architectural technology students can also degree complete with a BA on in architectural design via 2 more years of additional study. Or if they wish to become a professional design architect, you can achieve a B.Arch Honours in Architecture, which will carry RIAI accreditation and RIBA Part 1 and 2 accreditation via 4 more years of full-time study. I know we have some students from St. Clair, the Interior Design Advanced Diploma program on the webinar. So those students can complete a BA Honours in Interior Architecture and Design with 1 more year of additional full-time study. So you get full credit transfer for the first 3 years of that 4-year honours degree program, and you transfer into the 4th and final year of the BA on in Interior Architecture and Design. Again, the minimum CGPA to apply is 2.4. I'm going to quickly move through some of these slides because I'm looking at the student profile. Okay, so I'm going to move to our BA Honours in Performing Arts. And so this is open to musical theatre performance advanced diploma students. Okay, so students of that program can actually transfer into the 4th and final year of the BA on in Performing Arts. And so with 1 more year of additional study, they complete a BA Honours in Performing Arts, typically within the acting stream. Okay, with 1 more year of additional study. Okay, we have some students who are students of Fanshawe College who are from the Theatre Arts Performance or the Theatre Art Production Diploma program. They can degree complete at our 3-year level 7 level with 1 more year of additional study, and should they wish so, they can then go on for a 2nd year and complete a BA Honours in Performing Arts in either of the acting or indeed the theatre design streams. Okay. Computer games technician diploma students, such as students from St. Lawrence College, they can transfer directly into the 3rd year of the BSc in Games Development program here. So they get full credit exemption for the first 2 years, transfer directly into year 3. One of the highlights there is a 16-week placement, which is typically paid from April to August. And you could decide to complete that here in Ireland, or indeed, if you wish again, you can travel back to Canada and complete your placement there. Okay. There are options as well if you want to complete a placement, that placement within Europe. We can possibly assist with that, and we can also provide some Erasmus Plus placement funding as well, grant funding for students who wish to complete a placement abroad in Europe. So computer programmer, analyst, advanced diploma students can complete a BSc on in software development, again with no bridging or alignment studies, with 1 more additional year of study here at IT Sligo. So again, that structure of the academic year starts in September. We're semesterized. First semester finishes in December, examinations pre-Christmas. 2nd semester starts in January with examinations around the 3rd week in May. So again, bookended 9 months. So we may have some instrumentation and control engineering students or electromechanical engineering technology advanced diploma students on the webinar this evening. You can transfer into the 4th and final year as advanced diploma credential holders into the 4th and final year of the BA Honours in Mechatronics. Again, no bridging or alignment studies required. So 1 year of additional full-time study, and you can exit with a BA on in Mechatronics. Again, extremely popular pathway for Ontario College graduates here at IT Sligo. So how and when to apply? So to apply, basically you visit the komconsultants.com webpage, and there is an apply tab in the top left-hand corner. You simply submit photographic ID, your college's Ontario transcripts. That can also include either your final transcript or your interim transcript of results, in other words, your results to date. And provided you are carrying a minimum CGPA of 2.4 or higher, you're eligible to apply. Whilst we typically like to close off applications on or before the 1st of June in advance of September entry every year, because Canadian citizens do not require a student study visa, we can accept applications as late as the middle of August in advance of September entry. Okay. If you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. So my email address is there in front of you. That's lynch.patrick@itsligo.ie, or you can simply contact IT Sligo's representative office, which is based in Hamilton, Ontario. That's KOMconsultants.com. So now, guys, I'm going to hand over the Q&A directly to yourselves. I'm going to invite one of our current Canadian students, Eliza Lee, who is a final year Bachelor of Business Honours student here at IT Sligo and a graduate of Algonquin College. I'm going to invite Eliza into the booth here. So if you have any specific questions for myself with regard, which might relate to specific programs or pathways, please feel free to use the box chat. Or if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Eliza directly, whether it's living or studying in IT Sligo, what to bring, what not to bring, what housing options you would recommend, or what's the nightlife like, or what are today to do at the weekend or whatever, now's your chance. So I'm going to invite you to the booth now, and so please keep those questions coming by way of box chat. Okay, so the floor is yours, guys. Okay.
Perfect. Hi guys. So like Patrick said, my name is Eliza, and I'm currently studying my Bachelor of Business with Honors in Marketing. So I was here last year and completed the level 7 of the Bachelor of Business in the general stream, and then I liked it so much I decided to come back for another year. So yeah, about 2 years ago I was in the exact same position that you're in right now, with a whole bunch of unknowns and lots of questions. So feel free to ask me any questions, big or small, and I'll try to do my best to answer them.
So guys, you have the box chat open to you there now. So if you have any question, there's no question that you might think it's there's no such thing as a silly question. Okay, so if you have anything to ask, now's the time to use the box chat, and so you can ask any specific program related questions. We'll do our best to answer them, or questions surrounding living and studying in Ireland. So we have a question here from Carrie. And the first question from Carrie is, what's your favorite Irish food?
Irish food. So here they actually don't have poutine. So I would say the curry cheese chips are pretty good. They're the best, the closest you can get to it. That's probably my favorite Irish food, I'd say.
Okay, we have a question here from Matt. So Matt is currently studying construction engineering technology, and he wants to know whether it's possible for him to study civil engineering as opposed to construction project management. The short answer to that is, Matt, is probably yes. And what you would need to do is, I would need to see your academic transcript, and to include all of your courses and the learning outcomes therein. And I would again get them assessed on a one-off basis with my academic colleagues in the Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. Okay. There's also another pathway that should be open to you, and that's in quantity surveying here as well. So if you send in your transcripts directly via KOM Consultants to myself here, I'll ensure, Matt, that those transcripts are vetted and the relevant academic mapping is looked at by my academic colleagues in the Department of Civil Engineering and Construction. Okay. So we have a question here from Kiana. What about radio broadcasting? So unfortunately, Kiana, we don't have a major or undergraduate major in that area. So unfortunately, we don't have a pathway available to you, but I do know there are pathways within that field available to you. If you contact my colleagues in KOM Consultants, I do know that there are pathways available to you both in Australia, the UK, and also at some of the other partner colleges in Ireland. Okay. So yeah, so a lot of questions coming in, guys. So do keep them coming. So so there is a question from Serene. which is how would you best describe the teaching system at IT Sligo?
So it's fairly similar. Back home, I went to Algonquin College and I studied my management entrepreneurship program. It's quite similar to that. A lot of my classes are tutorial style, so you'll work in groups, do a lot of problem solving, whereas I also have some lectures where you literally just sit for an hour and the teacher just reads theory to you. So it's honestly quite similar to Ontario College's teaching system, that is for the business program at least.
Yeah, just one thing I will say is our grading system here is completely different. Okay, so in Ireland we have our pass percentage is 40%, and so between 40 and 49 is a pass rate, from 50 to 59 is a second class honour grade 2, and from 60 to 69 is a second class honour grade 1, and 70% or higher is a first class honour. And I think generally at IT Sligo, around 14% of a graduating class would actually graduate with a first class honour. Mm-hmm. So it's a completely different CGPA scale and a completely different grading system to that you would, I suppose, have become accustomed to in Ontario. Mm-hmm. Okay. So question from Attilio, what challenges did you face moving your life abroad and how did you overcome them?
That's a good one. Basically, I would say homesickness was the first thing I had to overcome. Surprisingly, I overcame it a lot faster than I thought I would. Honestly, once you get out and start meeting people and you live a busy lifestyle, you kind of don't feel homesick at all anymore. Another challenge I kind of found was packing. So really, you can buy everything you need here. There isn't anything that I would recommend bringing with you other than your clothing that you want to have here. But all everything you need, you can buy here. But I would say homesickness and packing, figuring out what to bring with me was two of the biggest challenges I faced.
So a question from Cole, how many students in a classroom on average for a class? So Cole, if you're in a technical kind of workshop or lab environment, and we have restrictions on classroom sizes. So, and they can be as little as one teacher and a technician to 15 students, or one teacher and technician to 20 students. But typically you will not be in, I suppose, a university environment where in a big lecture hall with 200 students. Typically class sizes are around 20, 25 students. Is that's your experience?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question here from Emma. What are your personal recommendations, Eliza, for housing? And do you stay on or off campus?
Yes.
And is there any public transport?
So I've lived at Milligan Court for the past 2 years. It's absolutely fantastic. So like Patrick said, it is located in town. So it takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to walk to the college. I'll normally leave at 8:45 if I have class for 9. I personally prefer it because I would rather have a shorter walk to get groceries or go out on an evening rather than having to walk into town to get my groceries. But it's really just your personal preference. I have lots of friends who live right beside the college who prefer it because they can just roll out of bed and be at the college, and they'll just have to either walk to get their groceries. But yes, there is public transit. I personally don't use it often because really everything's within a 5-10 minute walk. But the public transit system in Sligo is super simple.
Yeah, and so we have main rail connectivity to Dublin. We have main bus connectivity to all the others like Galway or to Belfast if you want to go up north of the border. But most people, in terms of within Sligo itself, it's a small town, so most people will walk everywhere, or indeed some students would even get a second-hand bicycle for as little as 20 or 30 euros and would use that to come to and from college if needs be. But again, if you're looking to stay closer to town, closer to shops, closer to nightlife, coffee shops, restaurants, Milligan Court is probably the place for you. If you're happy to roll out of bed in the morning and just walk 2 or 3 minutes into college, well then maybe the Grove or Yates Village or Nua or the Clarion are probably your better options. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Emma. A question from William, this is for me, I think. So William was asked that the minimum requirement to be considered for entry is 60%, but his question is, what's the general average for candidates that get accepted? In our experience, William, generally people will present with a CGPA of around 3.0. Those students typically present with those profiles. That's generally the average of the profile that the students present here, and most of those students would graduate with second class honours, and typically grade 1 from the Irish system here. So that's the benefit. I'm giving you the benefit of my experience, which is not inconsiderable, because I've been going back and forth to Ontario for the last 8 or 9 years. And also just one announcement, IT Sligo has decided to hold a graduation ceremony or a convocation in the middle of November. I think the date is the 15th of November for the current cohort of students. And if that goes well, we will be looking to replicate that for the next intake and subsequent intakes. So with the benefit of an assistance of our representative office, KOM Consultants, we will be holding graduation ceremonies for all Ontario college students actually in Canada. So the graduating ceremony for the graduating class of 2019-2020 will actually be on the 15th of November, I think, which is a Sunday, and that's actually been held in Oakville. So yeah, so that might be something that you can promise your parents or your families or extended families, and that we will be holding a graduation ceremony in Canada. So it'll make it easier for people to attend and hopefully celebrate your student success. A question from Serene: what would the full name of the interior architecture design degree program be? So it's a BA Honours in Interior Architecture and Design. So a BA Honours in Interior Architecture and Design. We have a question from Eric. After applying, how long before do you usually hear back or receive an offer letter? So typically, Eric, it would take less than 10 working days from receipt of your application in full, and we would generally be back. Once we receive it from KOM, typically we're actually back in less than 72 hours directly to KOM. So you should hear from us within less than 2 working weeks, so that's 10 working days. Okay. Another question from Antilio. With regards to textbooks, are there resources out there available to get your textbooks secondhand? Yeah, why don't you give the benefit of your own experience? How much would you have normally seen on textbooks at Algonquin?
I would say probably roughly, well, not that much, because a lot of it would be provided online, so maybe 200 Canadian dollars. Here, a lot of the material, at least for the business program, is provided to you, so you don't actually have to provide it online, so you don't have to go out and purchase a textbook. To get a secondhand book, we do have Facebook pages that you can look to get a secondhand book, but a lot of them are available in the library. So yeah, I'd say you probably wouldn't actually end up spending that much on textbooks here.
No. So we use the learning management system that we use here is Moodle. So a lot of the learning resources, including open learning resources, would actually be uploaded to the various Moodle course pages. So typically students would spend very, very little on textbooks here. Serene, you have a question around GPA equivalences. So actually, I must include a normalization scale on the next presentation. I neglected to include one this time around. It's not possible to compare a 3.4 GPA, which is probably going to have around maybe an 80% grade in your Ontario system. If you were to get an 80% grade here, your GPA on a 4.0 scale will be up around 3.7 on a 4.0 scale. So it's not completely analogous because of that 10 percentage point differential between a pass rate here, which is 40%, and a 50%, which is typically a pass rate within the Ontario college system. Okay. Question from Emma. Are there any student jobs on campus available for international students? We don't offer student jobs on campus here. We do look for students to volunteer for certain events, and they are rewarded via with gift vouchers and things like that, but we typically don't advertise student jobs. The Students' Union store, generally there are jobs available there, but typically part-time jobs are normal. If people are looking for a part-time job, we would always recommend for students to come maybe 2 weeks before the start of class time, so you can get a jump. The festival season is still in full swing here, and it's best then to apply for part-time jobs in bars or restaurants. Typically, that's where most of the international students get part-time work. Question from Matt. Is the Quantity Surveying Construction Project Management Program accredited by RICS, CILB, or other professional institutions? The answer is they're accredited by both. So you've actually answered your own question, Matt. So they carry RCS and CIOB accreditation. Emily, a question for Emily. So what is the weather like in the fall or winter?
I'd say it's definitely just gets a little colder. It's obviously nothing compared to Canadian weather. In the fall, you see some of the trees turning colors. Right now, actually, we've had quite a bit of snow, especially in Sligo. We've got a lot of like mountains in the background, so all the mountains are covered in snow. It's actually quite gorgeous. But you won't see snow like you do in Canada, that's for sure. But lots of rain. Prepare for lots of rain.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get real extremes, so because we have a coastal, we have a temperate climate. So typically, maybe during the winter, you know, the lowest temperature would be maybe 0 or slightly 2 or 3 degrees, maybe above in terms of Celsius. During the summer months, it'd be rare that the temperature would reach maybe the early 20s in terms of degrees Celsius. And so quite a temperate climate. You can get all 4 seasons in one day sometimes. It can rain quite a bit, windy, whatever, but I know some Canadians think it feels a little bit colder because it's that damp cold rather than the dry cold. Question for Courtney, who's a biotech student, who is, if I take a year off and then decide to apply to IT Sligo. So I'm assuming, Courtney, you would have completed your advanced diploma already. If you've completed your advanced diploma and you wish to take, you wish to go out and work back home, that's absolutely fine. You can then decide to apply 12 months hence. You would immediately still be placed in the 4th year of the honours bachelor degree program. Okay, so once you've completed 3 years of the advanced diploma, you can still transfer into the 4th and the final year of the honours bachelor degree program. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, a question from Dane. Is there a student gym? The answer is yes. It's in the Knocknaray Sports Arena. And is it included in tuition? The answer is no, it's not included in tuition. So maybe you'd like to explain. We don't have any student services charges here, which you would normally incur sometimes back on Canadian colleges.
Yeah.
So it's basically use it or don't use it here. So if you use it, you pay for it yourself outside of tuition.
However, I'm not sure of what the actual cost of the membership is, but I think it's relatively reasonable. I think it's €20, which is about 30 Canadian dollars a month. But I don't quote me on that.
I think it's about €70 for the full academic year for an early bird, or you can pay as little as €2 every time you use the gym. If, like me, you're in a former professional athlete who is now an infrequent user of any gym equipment. So yeah, it's effectively pay as you go, or you can decide to pay as little as €70, which is around 105, 110 Canadian dollars for a full year's membership. Just scrolling down the questions here. So question from Cole, civil engineering, what are the pathways available for further education, like a master's degree? And could you explain what the Engineers Ireland Chartered accreditation is? Okay, so Cole, quick in answer to your question is, if you want to degree complete at honours bachelor degree level at Ireland for a BA Eng Honours in Civil Engineering, you must complete 2 more years of additional study. That's if you're an advanced diploma credential holder. Okay, that will confer on you what's called chartered. So we are our professional accreditation body here in Ireland is Engineers Ireland. And so our program carries Chartered Engineers Ireland accreditation status, which is recognized worldwide under the Washington and Sydney Accord. So once you graduate with a BA Eng in Civil Engineering and you wish to bring that credential to work anywhere in the world or even back home to Canada, the Chartered Engineers Ireland accreditation is recognized worldwide. Professional Engineers Ontario will recognize that straight away. And you may have to do typically, you will have to do 2 more challenge exams around law and ethics, okay? And I'm giving you the benefit of the experience of both Canadian graduates who have returned with that credential to Ontario, but also our Irish students who have emigrated to Canada to work with their civil engineering honours degree program credential. Okay, question from Pauline. For the science-based programs, how much of it is lecture and lab-based? Like 60% lecture and 40% lab. Just want an estimate. Well, you probably answered your question. It's typically 60% lectures and 40% labs, and most, if not all, of those programs require a minimum of 80% lab attendance. So whatever number of labs you have a week, you must attend it up to a minimum of 80% of those labs, even to be able to pass the programs. And most of the programs, by the time you actually sit your final exam, typically your final exam percentage will be as little as 60% of your overall mark. So typically going into an exam, you will have already completed around 40% of the relevant assessments. Would that be your experience, Eliza? Do you have many exams where you have 100% final exam, or would you typically have assignments or presentations to make?
So this year in the Bachelor of Honors in Marketing, majority of my classes, 40% of that is just assignments. So it could be a report and a presentation is worth 40%. And then 60% is how much my exams are worth, or it could be even more. My exams are worth 70% and my reports or presentations, which they call CAs here, which is continuous assessments, those will be worth 30%. So it really just depends on the class. I do have one class this year that is 100% CA, so it's a mixture of presentations, reports, and there's no final exam at the end of the semester.
Yeah, so Pauline, just in response to your question again, so typically if there's a mix of final exams or FEs, as they call them here, and continuous assessment, which would be project-based or lab work, typically the mix would be around 60 or 70% in favor of final exams, or stroke 30 or 40% for continuous assessment. Okay. So question from Chad Ibbotston: what's the go-to Sligo whiskey? Well, I'm not a whiskey drinker, so yeah. There is a whiskey which is distilled locally here in Hazelwood, which is called Ahru. Okay. So Chad, if you want to take a drink of the local from the local distillery here, Ahru whiskey. Okay, so that's Irish.
You can never go wrong with Jameson either.
Yeah, or Jameson. Yeah, it's very good. Okay. Also, a question from Pauline: does biotech have the same prerequisites as biomed? I'm presuming what you mean there is that, so the first 3 years of our BSc in biomedical science is equivalent to the first 3 years of our 4-year BSc in medical biotechnology. Because of that, our two-year diploma graduates, in other words, biomedical technician diploma students, they can transfer into year 3 of the BSc in biomedical science and then go on to the 4th year of the BSc in medical biotechnology. Or typically students who take the biotechnology advanced diploma program in Ontario, they can transfer directly into the 4th and final year. So question from Cole: does IT Sligo offer a master's program in around civil engineering? Yeah, we do geotechnical and structural engineering masters. Yeah, so we have a master's in engineering in geotechnical and structural engineering. Okay, guys. So that concludes tonight's webinar. Thank you so much for. So we have one more question from Serene. What's the deadline for accepting or to delaying the offer? And if you decide to delay it to the next year, would it affect anything? So if you're in receipt, Serene, which I think you are, of a conditional letter of acceptance, there is a deadline date set in stone for acceptance of that offer on your offer letter, if you wish to avail of the discounted tuition. Okay. If you don't, and if you wish to, or indeed if you wish to defer the offer, you just simply email myself or my colleagues, Amelia, Sue, or Martin at KOM Consultants, and notify them that you wish to defer the offer. Okay. So to apply for free, contact KOM Consultants via www.komconsultants.com, or contact KOM on the free toll number. That's 1-877-318-8203. So that number again, 1-877-318-8203. Okay. Thank you guys for your time, and hope to see more applications coming in for you all, and hopefully I'll see you all in person here and come next September. So bye.